Hey everyone and welcome to Boss Advisory. Today we're going to learn about how does inflation start. 1 gallon of fuel cost $1.44 in January of 2002. Today, over $5 per gallon is the national average, and in the upcoming year, that price is anticipated to rise significantly. In the previous 20 years, the price has increased significantly. However, if we take a moment to reflect, we will see that everything, including food, clothing, housing, transportation, and everything in between, has become more expensive throughout time. This is brought on by the phenomena of inflation. On a fundamental basis, although we are all aware that inflation increases prices over time, do we really comprehend it? From where does inflation originate? What does high inflation, such as what we're witnessing currently in the US, indicate for the future of our economy? And are there distinct sorts of inflation? In order to comprehend inflation, we first need to comprehend how it came into being. Prior to 1971, gold served as the true medium of exchange and was utilized instead of paper in international transactions. Money essentially had no value other than to be exchanged for gold, just like a check on a checkbook. But the US encountered a challenge. The government printed and spent far more paper money than it possessed in gold as a result of its running out of money. It was similar to writing a check when there weren't enough funds in the account. People with dollars hurried to trade their paper money for gold as the US was in jeopardy. It was clear that the United States could not pay back all of their paper money before the gold ran out. The US came up with a plan after realizing they would soon run out of money. President Nixon also declared that the US dollar will no longer be pegged to gold on August 15, 1971. In the US, money's characteristics altered. At the time of currency devaluation, the economy transitioned from the gold standard to what is now known as fiat money. There is no commodity tied to this new currency. The trust of individuals who use the dollar determines its worth. Additionally, the Federal Reserve, which is the country's central bank, regulates the movement of money. Normal banks go there to borrow money so they can lend it to you later. The creation and movement of new money into the economy are likewise under the supervision of the central bank. And because money is no longer linked to any particular item, it is now a separate entity. This indicates that the new money flow causes inflation. Since it causes the price of goods and services to rise, inflation may seem frightening. However, inflation isn't always a bad thing in this new economy. In fact, a modest amount of inflation is a sign of a healthy economy. When people have more money, they tend to spend more, which causes inflation. According to investor Ray Dalio, higher spending leads to a higher income since someone else's expenditure is someone else's income. Additionally, that indicates a greater need for goods and services, which may result in increased production. In other words, companies can produce more things for more customers. This is referred to as the gross domestic product or GDP. This is in line with the cost of the products made in the nation. It assesses the nation's productivity. To put it simple, inflation is brought on by higher prices as a result of rising demand. Now, a little inflation is advantageous. For a strong economy, the Federal Reserve targets an inflation rate of 2% annually. High inflation, however, has the potential to cause the economy to become unstable when it spirals out of control. In order to comprehend how inflation affects the economy, we need to comprehend the many forms of inflation and their cost-causing factors. Push inflation is the process by which rising operating costs are transferred to the customer. A number of factors such as rising material costs, a labor scarcity, rising employee salaries, or a combination of them can have an impact on this and cause supply chain problems. This will raise operating costs for running a business, causing prices to rise, aka inflation, similar to what we are now experiencing in the United States. Demand pull inflation can be considered the good type of inflation. The law of supply and demand applies here. more individuals are in need of goods and services when they have more money, which causes firms to raise their pricing. But there's a dark side of the demand pull inflation. It is what's referred to as built-in inflation. Human behavior affects this kind of inflation. If individuals anticipate rapid inflation in the near future, they may rush to purchase products and services to avoid price increase. This would result in a dramatic increase in demand, which would rise prices and result in an inflation bubble. Abundance of currency: when the government boosts the amount of fresh money entering the economy, inflation results. This may take several different shapes. The government can simply generate more money and inject it into the economy, either through the creation of stimulus packages that are distributed in individuals or businesses, or through a process known as quantitative easing, in which the government purchases bonds and other financial securities on the open market using freshly created funds. This helps increase the flow of new money into the economy. Typically during periods of economic recession, this is done to stimulate the economy. This new creation and infusion of money, similar to what we witnessed in 2008 and more recently in 2020, is done to increase demand for products and services, which can promote more productivity and help the nation get back on track. But as a side effect, inflation is produced. The approach carries a risk, which is one of the reasons the government typically only uses it during economic crisis. Overinflation can result from the injection of excessive amounts of money into the economy. Productivity won't be able to keep up with the demand since there is too much money. For the Federal Reserve, creating new money is therefore a significant act of balance. A recession results from leaning too far on one side or the other, respectively. When the central bank reduces interest rates, the government also injects more money into the economy because borrowing money becomes more affordable and alluring for borrowers. As a result, people borrow more money, which raises the amount of money available in the economy. With more money available, there is more demand, higher productivity, and inflation. Once more, inflation is beneficial to the economy, but only in moderation. When it spirals out of control, it can lead to a variety of concerns, particularly those brought on by unforeseen occurrences like supply chain problems brought on by a pandemic. For instance, wages do not increase in tandem with inflation. This indicates that although people are not making more money, it is worth less. The economy may be under strain as a result. Low-income earners are the ones who are most negatively impacted by high inflation when consumers start paying more and more for the same things. This is because they are the ones that use a larger amount of their income to meet their fundamental requirements, which helps to restrain the increase of inflation. On borrowed money, the government normally starts raising interest rates. This increases the cost of borrowing money, as we recently experienced in the United States. As a result, people start to borrow less money and spend less. Spending less causes demand to drop down, which lowers prices and effectively cools down an overheated economy. The central bank may find this to be a challenging procedure. A recession may result from excessively high interest rates that raise too quickly. People significantly stop purchasing products and services as expenditure declines. This implies that companies use less money to make less money. Businesses must reduce their own costs by abandoning projects or expansion plans. It may eventually cause layoffs and more unemployment, which would then cause our current recession. To prevent this from happening, the central bank normally raises rates gradually and in tiny increments. Although there are other reasons of inflation that are not immediately tied to the money supply, and there is only so much the central bank can do to control it. According to many experts, a significant portion of the current inflation is due to the combination of the excessive creation of new currency and supply chain problems brought on by the pandemic, in which there is insufficient capacity for materials, labor, and transportation to meet the demand for goods and services. Until these problems are resolved, prices will remain high. What do you believe though? Are we on the verge of a recession? Or can the central bank maintain a stable money supply to prevent an economic crisis? Please let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching Boss Advisory, and if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe, give this video a big thumbs up, and hit the bell so you get notified on every new incredible content we make for you. Have a wonderful day and see you in the next one.